Right, so I'm doing a fork oil change on my FJR. I've never done this before. The bike has like 30,000 miles on it. So the first step is to remove the wheel. As you can see, the wheel is out of the bike. So these are the fork tubes, and anything attached to the fork tube needs to be disconnected. For example, the brake calipers. It's attached to the fork here. So remove all that nut and everything, keep the fork free of any attachments. After that, what you need to do is go up, and here you see this nut. There are two nuts here, so don't get confused with the smaller one. As you can see, you don't need to loosen that. This big one, you need to break that while the fork is attached to the bike. If you drop it and try to remove it later, unless you have a fork vise, it's going to be very difficult to break that nut. So this is a 24 mm nut, right? So break that. So I do have a wrench for it. So it is a 24-inch nut, and I'm going to use the full socket. So this is an aluminum nut, based on what it looks like. So it could slip easily. So when you have the wrench ready, so get it in. Alright. So make sure it's snug. There should not be any play. So I can't do this with one camera, with one hand in camera. So hold this with one hand and then give it some torque. It should break free. It's not too tight, but it's not too loose either. So once you do that, you need to loosen up that Allen wrench or Allen nut. And then there are two more nuts here, right there. So that one is a little difficult to get to. So what I did, I used a Allen key like that, got it in, broke the nut free, and then loosen it by hand. It's not too tight. So that's it. So once you do this, the fork will start dropping. So once you do that, you come here and you just wiggle the fork back and forth and slowly get it out. You need some clearance because the fork is going to drop to the floor. So you may want to raise the bike a little higher than usual for removing a wheel and let it drop through. It's easy. Once you wiggle it a little bit, it'll drop. So as you can see, the fork is out. I just had to wiggle it a little bit and it dropped right out. So the next step is to remove this or crack open this cap we broke free earlier. So it should be pretty straightforward. Still a little tight. So one thing that helps is to relieve the pressure using this. So back it up all the way. Yeah, that should do it. And let's see, 24. I'm just holding the fork back between my legs, and there you go. So breaking free. Come on, let's go. So don't worry about it jumping out because there's not much tension here at this point. So there's a lot of threading here, so take your time. And there. So now drop this down. And there you have it. So now be careful, don't drop it, because oil is going to come gushing out, and you need to measure how much oil is coming out exactly, so you can put back the same amount. The oil I'm going to use is liqui moly 15 weight. It's rated for heavy bikes, but other than that, the main important factor you want to look at is viscosity index. Look up what is the one for FJR. Based on my findings, I found with FJR the viscosity index is 150. So any oil rated at 150 viscosity index should be fine. And liqui moly 15 weight was rated at that. Now Dave Moss had a great tip, like just because it's 15 weight between brands, they do not have the same viscosity index. So keep that in mind, because I think Bel Air, some other brand had a 15 weight viscosity totally different. So look for one that's 150, viscosity index of 150, and pick oil that works for you. I'm going with liqui moly for this project now. Alright, so next is let's do some pouring. So for that I'm going to use a measuring cup and get all the oil out. So all the oil was got out. I pumped it a couple of times to get some more oil out. So I'm going to rest it like this in inclined position like this, and let it drip overnight. It's still dripping. So let it do its thing. As you can see, there's some silvery stuff, which is expected with all the internal metal abrasion. So all that's good. So get as much oil as you can. Pump it a few times. Even if there's small bits of oil is left, that's no worries. But key is putting back the same amount that came out. So a measuring cup is mandatory for this project. And other than that, there's nothing much to it. So pour it back, put the cap back on, and mount it back as it came out. Pretty simple job. There's no stiction based on what I'm seeing. It's moving back and forth freely. If there is stiction when this goes in and out, you may want to put some silicone grease or something. But for that, you need to open the dust cover. Oops. And put some and let it take it in. Pump it a few times. What else? That's it. Once you put it back in, make sure you put it back to the same length. So before you remove, I forgot to mention, you need to measure how much is the length sticking out. So you need to put back the same amount. Once you do that, tighten all the bolts and tighten the cap, and that's pretty much it. Thank you.